All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever time of day you're viewing this. Welcome to today's episode of Raw Podcast. I am your host, Rahsaan Corbin the second, and I say the second because I'm the second Rahsaan, and we're too hype. Reporting live and direct from Region 2 of the National Society of Black Engineers. I only been here for almost a year, but I'm still too hyped to have my special guest, Gerald Brown. How you doing today?
What's good, Sean? I'm good. I'm good. Wow, you really looped that in there, man. Man, I'm region two and through, but man, you pressing some heat right now.
Yeah, but I got my Region 3 powerhouse wristband on I got at Nationals this past year. They said don't forget where you came from. I was like, I respect it.
But the power ain't got nothing on the height.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that
We
later.
talk about that later. All
The
right.
Nesby family know it's all hype. Not all hype. Well, but oh, I didn't mean to say it like that. But you know what I mean? All love, all love.
It's all Nesby love at the end of the day, really.
All right, so before we get started, we're gonna do a little icebreaker. I got five this or that questions, and these are like just random. I don't put them on there because I like to see your reaction. But
All right,
let's get right into it.
all right, let's do
First
it.
one, Coke or Pepsi?
Ah, okay.
You can decline too for say neither.
So this gets into one of your later questions. I'm gonna have to say I'm not a cola drinker, so I'm gonna go for the brands as a whole, right? I'm gonna say Coke. Because you compare Sprite and Sierra Mist, Sprite wins. Um, but Pepsi does have a very special place in my heart as a Baltimorean. So
Oh, okay, so we'll go with Pepsi for that one. Let's see. Drama or fantasy?
you know, as far as like genres of movies, TVs, books, right? I'm gonna go lean into fantasy.
Fantasy.
I think anime does a lot of really fantasy really well.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go with fantasy.
Ice cream or cake?
You asked the first person for this question. I'm not a big sweets person, so I'm gonna go with cake. Um, I just can't. The coldness of ice cream. I'm just like
Just like cringe
so
a little bit.
cake. Yeah, I'm gonna go with cake.
Okay. All right. Breakfast or dinner?
Breakfast,
Breakfast.
breakfast,
He answered
breakfast,
that
man.
quick. He answered
Yeah,
that one
yeah.
quick.
I like breakfast food. I like breakfast food.
All right, we're gonna do two more. Um, Wings or ribs?
Wings,
Wings.
wings. Yeah.
All right, let's see. One more. Uh, Tacos or burritos?
Mm. I'm gonna say tacos because they're easier to make.
That sounds
Burrito
like
wrapping is a skill.
sound like a
It is
lazy.
a
That sounds
skill.
like a lazy answer because they're easier to make.
Audience, am I wrong? Am I wrong?
No, no, you're not
Burrito
wrong.
wrapping is an art. I have not mastered that art. I've tried it a couple of times, and the couple of times I've tried it, it's kind of like falling apart. It's kind of like I've been eating it, and it's like bloop. But if someone makes the burrito for me, let's go.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, go to Chipotle, get the double wrap burrito. Anyway,
Just
uh,
swaddled in its tortilla. It's just all taken care of.
anyway, I'm glad we got the blood flowing. Getting warmed up before we get into
Yeah,
this interview. But yeah, like Gerald, like I said before this call, thank you for taking the time out your day. I know you're very busy right now. You're currently in transition process, going from Region Two
yeah,
professionals to long title, Region Two professionals chair elect, to now the
yeah,
Region Two professionals chairperson.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Gerald's a very special guest. Got to meet him for the first time back in March. Well, first time in person back in March at the NSBE National Convention in Chicago, Illinois. Shout out to NSBE 50 for the win,
Oh
NSBE
yeah.
goal. You know what I mean? But before we get into all of that, we're going to talk about NSBE a little bit. Well, a lot of it. I'm not to say a little bit, but like let people know who you are. Like, where you from, and where'd you go to school, and what'd you study?
Yeah, so I'm gonna put it where I'm from and make this the easy part. Bam. I am I am from Baltimore, from the Baltimore area. Basically born and raised my whole life. Minus the 4 years that I spent where I went to school. So I went to school at University of Maryland, College Park. So right outside of DSC, my DMV gang. Love you still as much, but just I love Baltimore just a little bit more. I studied civil engineering. I specialized in water environmental resources, so I kind of stayed in that lane, more on the water resources end. So right now I work for GFT. We are a privately held but civil consulting firm. We operate across the country, but currently what I'm doing is I work in our as a part of our transportation group in our water resources department. Um, and we specialize on drinking water, but actually in stormwater management. So I function as a design engineer, working towards that PE one more year. So if it rains, it's my problem. So I love what I do.
Nice, nice. Wrote to the PE, professional engineering license for people that didn't know. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool, cool. Well, first off, like I said, we're gonna talk about NSBE, but like, how long have you been in NSBE?
So 2025 marks my 7th year as a member of NSBE. Um, so yeah, it's I'm not as established as some other folks, but I've been here for a little while. I have my lifetime membership, so I'm gonna be here for a while. I love the org.
Okay, nice, nice. Now, what inspired you to join NSBE?
Okay, so this is where the 7 years ago really starts. So I didn't really know, um, like unlike many, so people join NSBE at different points in time. Some people join NSBE junior, collegiate, professionals. I was kind of a little weird in the middle. So it's kind of started off with me kind of being in my guidance counselor's office in the at the end of of my senior year. And he was definitely, an ally to our community. Um, so he's like, hey, he's from England. He's not from the United States. He's from England. But he said, hey, I know about this organization, National Black Engineers. Hey, you should look into it, whether it's some scholarships or whatever. I said, sure, yes, absolutely. Let me do that. Nothing came at the moment came out of the scholarship. I had joined after the scholarship cycle passed. Um, but come and lo and behold, I was at my freshman orientation at the University of Maryland, College Park, and what they do is something that and they did. It's especially when I was a freshman transitioning was they did like a student orgs night, right? So they had all the organizations, they had rotation rooms that you could go to. And so one was um, for multicultural organizations. And so in that room, um, our chapter, University of Maryland's chapter of NSBE, we call it Black Engineer Society. We were founded about the same time, so we retained that name. They were in there. So there was three young ladies there from 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 the chapter. One of them actually being um, our past national chairperson, Favor Reese, and they kind of came in, did open arms. I was going through the relevation during that weekend during orientation that I was like, oh wait, I wasn't in the engineering school. It was kind of weird. I did not read my paperwork correctly, but it's okay. It's all for the better. I have my degree now. And they welcomed me with welcome arms. And they just said, hey, look, you're going through this process. We got you. We got people who've been through it. We can walk you through it. You know, you're gonna get involved in the communities that just come. So it took me a little bit of time to come, right? But I had a capstone course at the same time. But really, after those first couple meetings, went to freshman committee meetings, really got involved with the team, just had a gang of people just to be with who understood my experience, who looked like myself. It really just kind of like set myself to say, hey, I'm going to be a member my first year. And it just kind of was caught the bug from there.
Nice, nice. Um, you already answered how'd you find NSBE, but what was the first event you went to with NSBE, and what was
Ooh,
it like?
so I think the first event that I went to, I gotta remember which one. Um, I think the first event that I went to was they had like a during the during our early move-in weekend, they had a cookout. So, I was part of the group chat, went to the cookout. Um, and it was really just a vibe. It was like having cookout, everybody was chilling, relaxing, there was a sense of camaraderie. It helped me. I was definitely a shyer freshman, had to come out of my shell. Um, pun not intended because University of Maryland's Terps, but
Keep going. I like how you
oh
tied. See how I said I tied that in there earlier. The two, the second
yeah.
with Region Two. You tied the shell with the terror. Never mind. Keep going.
So yeah, so that was honestly speaking really is a great band. Everybody, left and right was welcoming. Got a chance to, meet other freshmen who were in engineering. Um, so that was really like just kind of made me feel a little bit more relaxed about the college environment. And then from there, I went to some general body meetings. And the thing was is that, I think especially as a freshman, the collegiate executive board at University of Maryland, they had a sense of swagger to them. So you just kind of enamored. Because they were, the thing that we all aspire to be as, young black people, young black professionals. They were confident, bold, courageous, and they were organized. So, so yeah, that first meeting was kind of inspirational.
Nice. Now, looking back on your 7 years and being in the professional level now, how has your role or involvement with NSBE changed over the years?
Yeah, so my NSBE journey is very interesting for sure. So like everybody, like I said before, I started off this time 7 years ago. Um, I didn't really even know about the organization to the depth maybe that I should have. I had been part of things like Mesa and whatnot, but so I was always engaged in some. But I started off as a member, and we had this thing called freshman committee, and I was part member of the freshman committee, one of the faithful ones, year in year out. Became a liaison, shadowed through how we're broken out the zones, finance zones. So anytime that there was a fundraiser, I was right there. Um, Time came for elections in in spring of 2019, and so I I decided to apply and run for finance chair. Favor convinced me. She motivated me. Talked to the finance chair. Went through it. Got to the interview, and got to the interview. You're standing. The room that we were in was within the Ken building. It was KB 1101, right? And so it's this huge room. It's a lecture hall that stacks up. So the people at the top are like 30 feet above you, and the room was full. So I'm giving my speech and talking about what I do. Got questions. They were hard questions. I'm not gonna cap. I got a little skittish afterwards, right? So so I go. I talk to. I told you before this, as I was gonna mention another past national chair, Avery, in this conversation. So I go talk to him. I said, he's part of the elections committee at the time, and I said, Avery, I'm kind of, I think I should rescind. I don't think I'm qualified. I'm going to rescind my ballot. My thing, my
Itinerary.
application.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So he was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" He's like, we talked about it. He was really supportive. He was really trying to keep me in it, and I was just, after that happened, I was just just scared out of my bones. Um, but he really consoled me through it. So I did turn around. I became a senator. Then moved my way kind of through the chapter ranks. So I became secretary right after that. Then chapter president. Um, then it gets interesting again, and Avery comes back up. So so we're in Anaheim, California, and in Anaheim, California, and we're at annual convention. So we're on the other side of the country, and we're at the Academic Excellence Reception Center. So it's like Avery's just like, "Hey, you want to go to Colorado?" So me, never having been to Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. I said, "Yeah, it was cool. There's got to be a catch." And he's just like, "All right, all you got to do is be part of the NLC committee. And I said, okay, what does that involve? He's like, you're going to help with the planning and execution on site, but you don't have to. We're gonna you'll have a person who's going to be the chair for this, the NLC conference planning chair, and there we go. And you'll be good. They'll take care of you. I think you can do this. I know you can. You'll be good fit for them. Mark his words. Remember that he said he was going to be a good fit for it. So I joined the committee. It was great. Coming towards one of the ending calls, right? Calls. One of the advisors said, "Hey, you're going to be that next NLC chair, right? National Leadership Conference chair." I was just like, yeah, I thought about it. 6 months later, I put my application in the NLC chair, and I did that for 2 years. At the same time, I was also kind of recruited to join the professionals board as the Region 2 professional secretary. So I was kind of playing into both roles at the same time. Um, and then after that, I would say I had to make a choice, right? I had the opportunity to either folks wanted me to become the, the Region 2 Professionals Chair elect, or move into what's known as the National Leadership Institute. So the National Leadership Institute within NSBE is what houses the National Leadership Conference, the Gary S. May Shadow Initiative. So I have been involved in the NLI committee for 2 years, and I've been on the professionals board 2 years. But now you see where I am now. So that's kind of how I got to today.
It's a long story. I remember when I asked Avery he's like, honestly didn't know what I wanted to do at first. But like, did you see yourself in a leadership position? Like, especially like where you're at now and everything you did at the national level, the chapter level for collegiate and the
Yeah.
regional level. Like, did you see yourself being a leader?
If you ask myself this question maybe 6 years ago, I don't think that I would have never thought that I would have been in the position that I am now. I think progressively, as I got more experiences, progressively as I got more into it, into the roles, um, it became really the hard question became saying like, well, what is the best capacity for me to lead in? That became the even harder question. I had to ask that, a couple of times, even throughout my collegiate experience, saying, do I stay at my chapter or do I move up the to the REB? I stayed, supported my chapter. I couldn't do both because I had a lot of other things going on, but yeah, it kind of evolved with time. I think for every position that it wasn't until the last maybe year or two that I really came up with the mental self-actualization saying like, oh, I can do this. I do have a role in some of these higher positions and I'm not underqualified. I am qualified.
Got you. That's what's up. And then how'd you balance NSBE involvement while you were an undergrad and even when you were on the national in your NLC,
Hmm.
right? NLC
Yeah, I
committee.
don't see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how'd you balance all that?
Yeah. Time management was definitely a thing. And I was a busy, I mean, I'm still a busy guy, but I was really, really like I was insane, especially my senior year of college. I was definitely a working student. I was a teaching fellow, RA, had another job, so time was tight. But I think honestly, if someone put me on it. So I was always good with the Google Calendar. I had a Google Calendar. I had my day planned out to a T, almost. Between maybe 9 a.m. and six p.m. I knew where I was supposed to be at every single point in the day. So that was thing number one. Just knowing, putting your calendar together, knowing what time you do have, what time you don't have, and just preparing to say, all right, cool, I'm free from 2 to 3. I got this assignment that's due on Thursday. I'm gonna start it then. And then my junior and senior year, when things really started ramping up, I kind of moved into my first admin role as secretary, and at the job that I was at, I became a team lead. So I was kind of moving up in responsibility simultaneously, um, and I had things that people relied on me to do, like scheduling, getting people hours and scheduling. I kind of shifted into also using Notion as a tool. So I set up a pretty cool kind of like homepage for myself where I would track every single assignment, every single task that I had to do, and then I would create specialized views so I could say, oh, what's due in 2 weeks, and I would say this is due in 2 weeks. These are my priorities. And so between that and then also delegating days, like, okay, this is going to be a NSBE day. I'm going to get NSBE work done on this day, and I'm going to get my classwork done on this day, and and prioritizing what I do on my day. Like the first thing I would do is, all right, cool. I'm going to go to gym at 6, and that's what we're doing. And the rest of the day we can focus in on the particulars. So that was definitely particularly useful. Coming to my senior year.
That's what's up. That's what's up. No, like, what's one experience? I know you described the experience with Avery, how he said you got to do it, and the other time where he's like, you should do this, you'll be a good fit for it. But is there any other experiences you had, or fun memories you had, either from collegiate or as a professional, that really like stuck with you?
I would say it would be my first annual convention. My first annual convention was in 2019. It was Detroit. Um, and I would probably say um, that would be probably the most that would be probably one of the biggest kind of like moments for me because I kind of Nesby, the whole thing with Nesby kind of clicked at that moment. I was really fortunate that I was able to get, travel sponsored by a school donor. And I think just being in the moment, I really saw the energy. My first regional business meeting, I was there. Oboom was chair that year. Um, and just seeing how the people, how everybody kind of worked and moved, seeing that for the first time in my life, while elementary school, uh, elementary school and middle school, I did go to primarily black schools, but high school, I went to a magic school, so it was a little different. But for the first time in my life, I literally seen thousands on thousands on thousands on thousands of people who look like me, who are interested in the thing that I'm interested in. And then you walk around, you see people who look like you giving presentations on high level topics. And, they're walking around with masters, with doctorates, with licensure. They're not just another project manager, but these are people who are you're getting presentations and meeting people who are, deans. You're meeting people um, who are chief chief officers of organizations, or they're one strung low behind it. So that was a really big moment, I think, for me. Was it really kind of made me feel like wow, I actually have a space in the engineering world.
Nice. Yeah, I think national convention is always what I hear from people, and they say, "Oh, what's your favorite memory?" My first national convention, my first national
Yeah.
convention, my first national convention, or they'll be like the one I just went to. But yeah, I would say the same thing. My first national convention was actually in 2023 in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay. Yeah.
I was vice president of my chapter. I was just enjoying myself. Like the career fair, they weren't kidding. Like the setup was amazing. Like my friend and I, who eventually became my vice president when I was president the next year, um, we were walking through. We're like, whoa,
Right.
like this looks like a candy shop right now. Like, whoa, we even went back the next
Right.
day just to walk around. But yeah, the national convention's amazing. I made a lot of great friends who I'm still friends with to this day, and I'll never forget kind of like the similar experience seeing people with masters, PhDs, even alumni coming back to give presentations, and even seeing the founders on stage for the first time. I even got a
Yeah.
picture with them. I was fanboy. I'm like, I wouldn't be here without y'all. I really appreciate this organization. I appreciate what you've done, and I appreciate that you're still paving the way for all of us.
Don't get me on the founders. I've had numerous interactions with them, both while I was in Chicago. Got time with them in Chicago, and they are just some of the kindest, welcoming, just like they are like peak, like can you be my granddad energy ever. They're always so encouraging. They're really looking for the best for society. They see um, they see the greatness within every single member, and I love that. That's another great moment is meeting the founders
Oh yeah,
and
for
getting
sure, for
time with them.
sure.
I met them, I think, first time in as well as in KC.
Kansas
Yes.
City.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that was definitely a good one. My friend was like, "You gotta frame that." I'm like, "Frame it." Yeah, I'm gonna frame it one day, but no, it's not right
Yeah.
now. I was still living in the dorm, so like I only had so much space. So I'm gonna get there eventually. But yeah, that was a good memory. Shout out to any of the friends that I met there. They're all great people. We're all still in contact. Still supporting each other from afar because we're from all over the country, even all over the world too. Because Nesby's not just in the states. We're
Exactly. We're international.
yeah, we're all over the place, we're all international. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
So closing out this section of your journey through Nesby, it kind of bleeds into the next section. If you could give advice to a new member just starting out, what would it be?
You know, I would say dive in. Dive in. The you know, Nesby is more than just the career fair, right? I know people love going to FRC annual convention for the career fair, but after some point in time, honestly speaking, it becomes the people that you meet by working side by side with them is the people who you meet, when you're like, hey, yo, you got chem exam in 72 hours. Who's in it with me? Who's grinding. Those that's how you know that's when the real bonds are formed. But or two, when I say dive in, I'm saying dive in, get involved with your chapter, get involved with the region, get involved with any opportunity that you can, even if you lose. Start from a committee. Sometimes the greatest bonds are built when you're trying to do a lot of problem solving. Um, know that Nesby in its core to me is a people building organization. So when I say dive in, like you'll build so much as a person. Dive in, get involved. Push for something new. Get your voice out there, whether it's in the chapter. If you want to become vocal in NSBE elections and businesses, if you're on the professional side, become a delegate. If you're on the collegiate side, become a senator. You guys have a lot of power. It's a great way to really immerse yourself in understanding and knowing how the organization works. Um, so it's a lot of fun once you get into it and you know it and you start building those relationships because it's amazing when you can say, oh yeah, I met my homeboy who went here in Anaheim and then we met again in Houston. It's really cool to know that you have those connections.
Yeah, and then one thing I will say, everybody's very helpful. I remember when I was
Yes.
president, even when I was vice president, like some of the other presidents from the different chapters were giving me advice. I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
I just became vice president 2 weeks ago. I need help. And they're like, just stay calm. They like gave me like real calm
Yeah.
advice, kind of like when Avery pulled you aside.
Yeah.
They just said, stay calm. You got this. No, like for real. They were like, stay calm. You got this. Remember, staying on your own morals and like the rules of the organization and make sure at the end of the day you're continuing the progression of it.
Yeah.
And they even helped me when I was president and I was helping them too without even knowing it. I'm like, yo, I'm giving you
Yeah.
inspiration. You're giving me inspiration. We're just feeding off each other's energy. So what I'm trying to get at is fighting or like pushing for the greater cause or greater common good of us as black engineers within the collegiate space or as well the professional space is what helps build those bonds as well. It's very genuine. We all want to see each other win, and that's what it's about at the end of the day. And speaking of wins, we got a new Region 2 Professionals chair for the year. Like I
Yeah.
said in the beginning, he is our guest today, our guest of honor, Gerald Brown. So we just at the time of this recording, we just began your term. I know you're still
Yes.
probably getting a little warmed up, but you probably
Early
had
days,
some
man.
practice when you were chair elect. But like, what's your overall vision for the region next year, the model region, Region 2
Yeah.
Two Height? What's
Yeah.
your
So
overall vision?
I'll kind of talk into too, like kind of like what the purpose at least I see for the regional board, right? Y- you know, as a part of the society. So for me, the regional board, the regional professionals board, for the professionals extension of the National Society of Black Engineers, we're that intermediary for action within the society. So we kind of balance kind of working and thinking both strategically long term, but then also helping day to day and helping with the chapter operations. Like we wear those two hats. So for me, in my kind of tendency to do so, I like to think about kind of institutional kind of strategies. Um,
Mm,
and so I kind of had to boil it down to three main thoughts of saying, okay, we've made NSBE's made it 50 years. We've made it 50 years. We've thrived for 50 years. How do we keep that going? And how do we make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success for another 50 years? How do we make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success within the region, and particularly for regional professionals for the next 50 years? So the first thing first is continued membership development. I think doing things like continuing to revive previously disbanded chapters, finding new chapters to recharter, and aiming to do that early, and getting that information early, getting those type of things early is something good, and it will help us later on to the semester when it comes to being able to stay in contact with everybody, um, getting ready for voting delegates. It's one of those things, and also expanding just the overall reach of the region. The next thing is, develop an intensive focus on technical excellence programming. Um, this is an area that will hopefully be a place for a connection between both the collegiate board, the other additional regional boards, as well as the special interest groups in the society. If I look at the mission, and this is really driven by the mission of the NSBE professionals, right, which is to increase the number of Black engineers who are successful in their careers and have positive impact on their communities. So, really focusing on technical excellence programming that do three things: A, develop the skills that are required to be successful, right, in the workplace. And then number two is, make sure that we are fostering a sense of community and having real discussions about, about the issues that we can address in our community. We have the opportunity as NSBE to be, a voice for industry leaders and bring our perspective and opinions to the table. And then number three is talk about within our realm of technical excellence programming is to really think about getting that transition from collegiate to professional right through our programming to help people both transition from being a college student into getting ready to be a professional. So, working with a YTP or young technical professionals is a great opportunity moving forward to do this. But really, how do we prepare people to literally, quote unquote, go pro? And then the last thing, last thing is really thinking about our overall organizational resilience. Thinking about how do we infuse fundraising into our events? How do we look to support our chapters with fundraising? How do we create different models for that? And also doing some just kind of back house things, right? Like modernizing our operating guidelines, making sure that they kind of come and be in spec with a lot of our national governing documents. PB bylaws were updated in 2020. National Constitution was updated well, actually, there were a couple of bylaws. Constitution was amended in 2020, national bylaws in 2023, and then I think there were some additional ones come this term. So making sure that our bylaws are meeting that, and also asking the question of, do our bylaws currently right now meet the need, our operating guidelines meet the needs that we're working on, right? Do they meet the goals and priorities that our strategic plan has set out and whatnot? And then the last thing part of that is actually having the utilization and establishment of regional committees. It's to really improve chapter engagement, awareness, create the opportunity for training, as well as developing a pipeline for people to move throughout roles within the society. So kind of back to what I was saying before, as what to do for new members, I want to give people an opportunity to dive in. That if they don't really know what they want to do, or if they don't know if regional leadership is for them, the committees can kind of be a place for work to get done and the work to kind of get spread out. Many hands means light work, but also to learn in the process what is really going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like what you said. Help the collegiate members go pro. I like that. I like that. It's guaranteed you'll go pro. Just a matter of what path you choose to go down. So
Yeah.
that's yeah. I like that. I might use that because I'm membership chair of DC professionals and might use it for helping out with Nova Virginia chapter for helping with the rechartering effort of our inactive
Yeah.
chapters in the area in the
Yeah.
region, I should say.
Yeah. I might have to trademark that now. $5 a pop.
Hey,
I'm just messing with you. I'm just
if you don't, you can always pass it on to me. Pass it on to me if I ever run for, a position and higher up one day. Anyway, we'll get to that point another day.
when when no but no that's I'm good with you using that. I don't care. It's a good brand. It's a good brand. It's a good brand. Branding's everything.
What after being chair elect this past year and transitioning to chair, like what makes a strong board? Like what continues the flow of communication and making sure all plans are executed to best of their ability?
Yeah, I would say it's really comes to three things. Um, Number one is board energy, right? And when I say board energy, I mean it's really having a board that understands that we're here to work together, that we're here to collaborate with each other, where no one is each other's enemies. It that having that mindset, establishing that mindset within a board, really emphasizes that that we're centered on a mission, and we're not going to let differences between each other get in the way. When that does happen, it creates hostility. It creates unproductivity. It just puts everything in a bad sort. Number two is really understanding positions. I think that when people understand what their positions are, you know, creating that understanding that what a chair wants for someone to really achieve in their position will really help people have the ability to say, "Hey, I'm going to take this. I'm going to run with it. I'm going to take your vision. I'm going to run with it." That's the best thing you could want as a chair is someone to be able to see your vision, understand how it applies to them, and be able to run with it. And then, the last thing is the thing that no one wants to talk about, but it is having a having an enforceable accountability structure. And we're all volunteers in this. So I don't think I want to go and say, "Hey, look, I promise you 3 cookies. You're only getting 2 now." Um, but making sure that we cultivate a culture of accountability, that when something isn't getting done, we're not asking the question of whose fault it is, but we're asking, okay, we're here now. What's the pivot? How are we going to get there? All right, cool. What help do you need? All right, cool. And how do we prevent this from happening again? And making sure that we record that, log that, and whatnot.
Okay, cool. Cool. And then I'm not sure how the collegiate regional board works when it comes to chapter engagement, but how do you plan on staying engaged with chapters throughout your term?
Yeah. So one of the more operational goals that I would like to do is really to have um, a couple more opportunities for for really getting time with chapters and chapter presidents and chapter officers across the board. Really taking the time early on, so like now, to engage with chapters as they're transitioning. Um, a struggle in the past has always been saying, "All right, cool, we transitioned, things changed. Sometimes chapters, they shut down, they reopen, maybe they're using personal emails. And so getting all the right contacts for people can be a little rough. So so that's step number one is just being right there and trying to stay in touch as every chapter walks through their own transition process, because you know, transitions are not easy. Contact information gets all over the place. And then the second thing is really pushing for, number two is and pushing for increased visibility, and opportunities for engagement. So, yes, having, those regular chapter monthly calls, creating the group chats, maybe sending a funny meme every week or something like that, just to really at least with the chapter presence for sure to do that. So this is kind of talking about chapter president or chapter
Hmm.
to board relationship. Um, and making sure that we're applying that across at least every single zone. But there's the other side of it, which is to strengthen professional engagement as a whole across the region. And I think that comes to the second and third tenet of my overarching, overarching plan and vision for the year. People come to NSBE for development. We see that with PDC, we see that with annual convention. People go to workshops. We come for the workshops. We do great with programming, so we need to make sure that whether it's from a communications perspective, our programming is communicated effectively. Are the newsletters working? Are we tracking the metrics behind that? Are we seeing only 100 people reading it, or is it 200 people reading it? So maybe do we need to manage our ICO? Um, is it that does our website have the information for people that they need? Um, are we providing the programming that folks need? So please be on the lookout for questions, for myself or our program share, asking what kind of programming do you need? Because programming is the way that you kind of get people into the door. And then the last thing is, which I feel like is going to be the most, direct way is, well, there's one more way as well, is through through the committees. I really want to kind of let committees be a way for people to get involved, low, low risk, low, low commitment because people were adults. We got bills, got jobs. Some of us got
Mm.
kids, aunties, unks that we got to take care of. So creating another avenue for real engagement. The goal is to make sure that if we're not just meeting you halfway there, maybe we're meeting you three-quarters of the way there. Another thing I would love to do is actually stop in to a lot of board meetings, and for any chapters that are relatively local, hopefully maybe get to do a chapter visit, depending on how busy work gets me keeps me. Um, but yeah, I think those are really the big ways. Is getting people involved through committees, um, opening up that level of engagement to meet people's needs, the programming, and of course, keeping the chapters in touch, involved along the way, through and through, um, helping them in every way that we can so that, like you said before, how everybody's helping each other. We're creating that culture of care across the region.
Okay, sounds good. We're gonna wrap it here with a few more questions.
Yeah.
So terms of, because I know I'm on the front lines right now with one of the current inactive chapters, so we're in the process of reactivating. But you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? But for the other chapters in the region that may not have that group of people that are taking initiative, how do you plan on engaging them with the overall structure, making sure they're still involved within the organization? Like, how are you helping them through are you planning on helping them through their recharter process? And how do you make sure they stay engaged? Because this recharting process can be frustrating at times, so people can get discouraged. But how do you plan on helping with encouragement and engagement?
Yeah. So 100% still along for the ride with every single chapter that we're trying to recharter to make sure that they are rechartering effectively, that they're getting the support that they need, whether it's just understanding the process, doing those one-on-one conversations, talking through the process, you know, whether it's email, call, text, that's a given. That's a given. We're still staying on that. We're still standing on business and also developing resources for developing chapters or redeveloping chapters. I think there's a wealth of knowledge that we could tap into for that. I'd love to do that, especially when it comes to managing things like finances as well as programming. So it doesn't seem so quite intimidating to join in. Um, because yeah, getting those 10 people to recharter is tough. Getting the 5 people to actually say,
The
hey, I'm going to step
officers.
up. Yeah, step up, be an officer, and then 2 additional people to become a delegate. That's a whole nother challenge. It takes courage. It takes courage. It takes commitment to do that. So creating the resources so people can kind of have a vision for what that looks like. That's item number one. Item number two is I would love to see a buddy system where chapters come into fruition. There are chapters like, like we're working on with you, the Reach Charter Nova. So can we create a buddy system with Washington D.C. professionals to get things going? Or if there is, a Wilmington chapter that might be interested in being developed, um, can we have, can we have Greater Philadelphia professionals, you know, serve as a mentor chapter to them? Of course, it's going to vary, per geographic area. How do we exactly mesh things together? Because some chapters, like Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is kind of the only major city in what's known as the end zone. But other regions like Terror Zone, which is the DMV, um, Danger Zone, which kind of is Greater Philadelphia, and Ozone, which is Virginia. So you got Richmond, Norfolk, not too far from each other. That are opportunities to have rechartering chapters collaborate with established chapters, or recharter chapters come together and be support systems for each other. Um, and then in the Carolinas, there are chapters like RTP, Charlotte, that are powerhouses that can come together and really be very strong, but then also provide, level to mentorship of chapters that are currently working to rebuild, like, 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 like SC Midlands, as well as work with chapters that were previously adjunct. So hopefully we can get upstate South Carolina or Greenville going together. So these chapters can really we can do some pairings, make the connections, but then also, really make use of times with chapter officers all together, all at the same time, to really ask the real questions of what worked for some people, what worked for different people. It's about bringing people together. Getting people out of silos and into the same room together.
Okay, I like that. I like that. We kind of already touched on this with the overall vision of making sure the organization continues progressing. But there's always a topic of DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion. But do you see this as a do you see this as a barrier for the future? I know we can't talk on it too much or too in depth, but do you see it as a barricade moving on in the future when it comes to possibly helping collegiate chapters or even helping professional chapters with funding, making sure everybody has like that mentor system? Do you see it as a barricade, and like how do you plan on you know either hopping over it or going around it?
Yeah.
Like
Um,
the attacks on, I probably should have started like that. The attacks on DEI, not DEI. What I'm saying? We're a DEI, we're a diversity organization, but the attacks on DEI. Do you see any roadblocks coming ahead in the future?
um, every risk has its opportunity. There is the very real reality that, there are chapters that unfortunately have had to disband, um, or there are news reports coming out that, some organizations are losing funding. Um, so that does provide a really interesting question of where do professionals come and play a role in making sure that we're supporting our communities, right? And on the other side, on the professional side, there's the real reality that many companies, they are saying, either they said it or they're backtracking, and saying that, hey, we can't have our ERGs anymore. We have to disband these. So the most important thing that Region 2 professionals should do as we move forward is make sure that we're creating a place of belonging. That's the critical piece. Because if we create those places, we can make use of the programming that we already have and get people connected to that really says, hey, we're developing qualified individuals, and without question. So it's really creating those places. There's been conversations across the board of how do we do this, and some things I can't quite disclose, um, but one thing I think that resonates is asking the question of, if a chapter can't meet on campus, where's the other alternative location? Is this a place and space that professionals can provide? Is it, can we can we provide additional programming? Are there ways that we can support people transitioning to use new resources to, to continue the business, to continue the mission? So there are really out of this, I think, a lot of opportunities to really strengthen um, the ties across the entire community and come together as a group and really say um, that we're here for each other. So yeah,
That,
so
that,
it's deep, it's complicated. I'm not an official spokesperson person for the
yeah,
society, but I think this is the best time we can ever have to come together as any other time.
yeah. Coming together is the best way to do it.
Yeah,
Five fingers together or five fingers separate doesn't make as much impact, but keep them together make a bigger impact when you hit the punch. You know, striking with impact.
exactly.
But yeah, that too. You know what I'm saying? Meshing together, all coming together and whatnot. But
Yeah,
yeah, I like that. I like the answer. And yes, we're just for the person watching. Yes, we are not official spokesperson or spokespeople on behalf of NSBE or behalf of our company, but we do play a role in these conversations internally. But that's neither here nor there. But you know, just take it how you please. Take it how you want it. Take it how you want it. Um, just kind of go
yeah.
with it. So, yeah. One last question. By the end of your term, what do you hope the legacy of this year's leadership will be?
Um, so I think it's going to come back to my core tenet. I'm a very like I like improving systems. Um, so if like for example, I think the legacy of my term as a chapter secretary was, hey, I pushed through a you know a entire revamp of our website, and as chapter president, I got through the majority of the legwork of rewriting our constitution and bringing our chapter back from COVID. So the legacy I think of this year's leadership will be is that we're really we're re-cementing our foundation. We're re-cementing our foundation of making sure that by the end of this term, we have created documentation, that we have created community, that we have we're filling out a full slate of officers, by April. Um, those are the things that I would like for this legacy of leadership to be is that we set a foundation that can be worked on and built on um, moving forward. Working with Nick this year, he started that trend, and I kind of want to finish the want to make sure, of course, that I finish the job. Um, of really refortifying, re-solidifying that the saying like, hey, we're going to get a pipeline of refortifying the professionals pipeline, getting collegiates to come in. We're going to make sure that we have all of our procedures in order. We're going to make sure all of our governance is in order. These are big, lofty goals, but I think dreaming big in this way will really hopefully lead a legacy that we're saying like, hey, we left ourselves in a better spot than what we were 12 months ago, 48 months, 24 months ago, 48 months ago, however you want to say it.
Got you. And I think there's one topic I forgot to touch on, which is next year's convention.
Yes.
Right here in our wonderful region. And not
Yes.
only that, but it's also your background and literally right in your backyard of your hometown. How are
Yes.
you feeling? Is this like going to be like a homecoming feeling like I was in Chicago for the founders? Like, how do you feel about NSBE National Convention next year being hosted in your city?
Yeah, yeah, no, March 18th to the 22nd. We're already so fast, less than a year out. I think um every single time I go to annual convention, it feels like a homecoming. Um, it's kind of be kind of weird, to think that, oh, all I gotta do is just catch the the city link, the city link down to the convention center, whether I'm taking the metro or taking the light rail. But it's definitely going to be, I think this is going to be really cool. I think it's going to be a really cool year. I think it's kind of exciting to see something that is as big. as impactful and as influential, to your life as NSBE has been come to your hometown. So I'm really excited. I think the CPC chair, Jasmine, as well as the rest of the CPC commit conference planning committee. Let me stop using acronyms. Conference planning committee, guys. That's what CPC stands for. I'm so sorry. I think I did good defining all the other acronyms I was using throughout the time. I'm sorry. Actually, the CPC vice, oh boom, he would say, "Hey, you got to find these acronyms that you're using. Don't just say them in front of everybody." But but I do think that it's gonna feel like pretty cool homecoming. It's gonna kind of touch home the base. It's worth going to watch Brandon Scott's state of the city. So it's in this kind of renaissance time for Baltimore. I think that this is just an amazing event to be coming here. So it's kind of cool as well because I actually I've hosted our National Leadership Conference as NLC chair here in Baltimore, and that was cool in its own right. So kind of seeing everybody to get a chance to come and say like, hey, this is what my home is. Understand that Baltimore is that Baltimore is beautiful. Baltimore is bold. Baltimore is about the culture of Black excellence through and through. There is a reason why some of our benches do say greatest city in America. I'm biased, but but Baltimore has such a rich history, and I really want. I think people debate whether we're in the North or in the South, and we've just got history. So come find it out. I want y'all to see it. So I'll see y'all on the 18th and the 22nd in 2026, and y'all gonna find out.
I would say, do you have any closing remarks? But I feel like that's a good closing remark to end on.
Okay, no, I do have a
But
couple of closing remarks.
okay, go ahead, go ahead.
I'm gonna keep it brief. I'm gonna keep it brief. One other thing. Okay, so we plugged annual convention 2026 annual convention. However, there is the professional development conference coming up. It's not in Baltimore.
It's not even in
It's
our
in,
region.
it's not even a region. It's in Region 5, 5 deep. Okay. Got it. Jabril Walker, she's running it. She's the PDC planning chair. But it's in NOLA. It's on Labor Day weekend. It'll be a great weekend. Lots of professional development, lots of workshops. So depending on when this is coming out, um, early bird rates end on May 15th, and then they'll start going up from there. So please give NSBE PDC a look up. It is just go
Professional
ahead.
Development Conference.
Yes, professional development.
PDC is professional development. Okay, I'm making sure.
I already said it.
Had to
I already said
reemphasize. Had to
But
reemphasize.
it is pdc-nesby.org to find out more information. It's a great one. I went to my first one this past summer in DC. So it's a great time. It's in NOLA, so New Orleans, y'all. So come out, pop out, get the training that you need, but then also come out, have a good time. We have hotel blocks. You can actually block, you can come and register so that you can have the hotel block, stay later or stay before to get some good time. So yeah, so see us at PDC. But I think the final closing remarks that I really want to have outside of any next week plug is that one of the key things that I've learned through NSBE that um, is that truly, 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 do not, do not underestimate your capacity. I think that has been the realest lesson I have learned in the last 7 years. The, the things that I have learned, the things that I've seen, the things that I've done through NSBE have really actually directly prepared me for quite a career that I've had so far. They've helped me learn how to operate in times of crisis, how to operate when sometimes there's a need to lock down. And I say that because, I've had to go through numerous transitions so far during my time um, at my current company. Matter of fact, like the company that I work for now isn't actually the initial name. I've gone through, acquisition, mergers, and so learning how to deal with that, how to work through it, how to when a heavy deadline is coming up and something needs to get done, NSBE teaches you how to really lock in, how to really make it happen. They give you the soft skills that employers are looking for, that sometimes they don't even know that they want. And in our line of work as engineers, we work with clients, and client relationships can sometimes be the difference between a company boom or a company bust. But
Hmm.
those soft skills are the things that we need, and it's what makes us a very unique organization, because we're going to prepare you like for the things that you are going to need in your career field. We're very multidisciplinary, so we might not hit every technical aspect, but we're working on developing more professional development hours and continuing education. But more than anything else, it is about, you know, we come to NSBE if you want to get your feet set. That's what I say. Find your place, find your voice, get your feet set. I would not have imagined 7 years ago saying like, "Oh, I'm going to come on a podcast and I'm going to talk about all the things that I've done." That's just not my MO. Um, but now I'm here, and that is the beautiful part about NSBE and the journey that you bring. Is about the people you meet along the way, the people who, when you're not in a room, they might just vouch for you, and that is a very powerful asset to have. So with that, just continuously go for it and know that NSBE is a home for you to do that. You can take that risk, because at the end of the day, I think the most valuable thing that we can do as a community of people is work to develop each other.
Awesome. Well, you already know we're going to be talking a lot more throughout
Yes.
this year as we progress with this Northern Virginia chapter. But Gerald, other than that, I wish you the best of luck with everything when it comes to your term. I'm going to be cheering from the
Yeah.
nosebleed or from afar. You know what I'm saying?
Nosebleed,
No,
nah.
okay, not from nosebleed. I'm not saying from front row seats. I'm gonna be cheering and whatnot. So yeah, just
Yep.
know you're not alone. Just like we said earlier, it's better to come together and move forward as a unit. So just want to thank you for
Absolutely.
being on as well.
I appreciate it. I'm happy, and I'm humbled and honored um, to serve. Um, it's definitely been a long time coming. I wouldn't think that I was doing this so young, but I'm here. I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to learn, ready to listen, um, and ready to make this happen.
Cool.
So thank you.
Thank you. Well, to the viewer watching this, if you felt inspired, go ahead and drop a like. And go ahead and
Yeah.
subscribe and share with a friend. And
Really,
even
really,
comment your
please.
favorite part. Comment your favorite part.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm
Don't
saying?
cover
If
my.
you're, yeah, if you're an aspiring NSBE member or you're a current NSBE member, we hope to see you at current events. We hope to see you continue making your impact on the overall society. Just know you're seen whether you know it or not. And until next time, this is Rahsaan Corbin II on the Raw Podcast. My guest, Gerald Brown. We'll see you on the next episode.
I'll catch y'all around.